Hi, Gary DeWall here, and this is another Bridging the Week for October 7th to 11th, and today is October 14th, 2013. Good morning. The CFTC remained shut this past week, and so there was no news emanating from that agency. What was surprising, though, was that there seemed to be no material news coming out of any other regulatory agency or exchange worldwide either. Hello out there! Is anyone home? This quiet gives me a chance to review some other important older matters that I did not cover at the relevant times earlier this year. First, on September 19th, the Ministers of Finance of Canada, as well as of two Canadian provinces, British Columbia and Ontario, agreed to establish a single countrywide capital markets regulator and invited all other Canadian provinces and territories to participate in the proposed new regime. Proposed to be headquartered in Toronto, the new regulator, yet unnamed, would have as objectives to provide better protection for investors, enhance Canada's financial services sector, support efficient capital markets, and manage systemic risk. The new regulator would be responsible for policy development and regulation, regulatory operations, enforcement, and there would be a separate and independent adjudicative tribunal. Under the proposal, there would be provincial and national regulation of capital markets. Each participating Canadian province and territory would adopt a single uniform act to address all of the areas of securities legislation the Canadian provinces currently address. A federal act would address criminal matters and matters related to systemic risk. The new regulator would administer both the provincial and federal acts and have offices in each province. The new regulator would have a fee structure to support its own self-funding. Currently, Canada is the only major industrialized country without a national securities regulator. Securities regulation is administered separately by each province and territory. The proposed national system is expected to be instituted by July 1st, 2015. Wow, this idea sounds like a proposal to create an EU-type governance, but for a single country. Oh, Canada. Let's see if this proposal is challenged. The Supreme Court rules more favorably than when it struck down a similar proposal in 2011. In an interesting legal decision involving the defunct Peregrine Financial Group, the United States Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit ruled during July that Futures Commission merchants are not liable for the illegal acts of formally guaranteed introducing brokers that occurred after the guarantee between the FCM and IB was terminated. In this case, Presswood Capital Management Ltd. And two affiliates, Canadian investment companies, originally sued AccuVest Inc., a commodity futures trading commission registered IB, and two of its principals for fraud. The suit also included PFG as guarantor of AccuVest. The lower court hearing this matter dismissed PFG from this matter, and Presswood appealed. In case you forgot, under the rules of the CFTC, there are two types of IBs. One that meets a minimum net capital requirement of at least US $45,000, and another, a so-called guaranteed IB, that is not required to meet any minimum net capital requirement, but instead has all its obligations guaranteed by an FCM to which it exclusively introduces its customers' accounts. An FCM is potentially jointly and severally liable for all violations of law or rules by IBs or guarantees. Here, Presswood opened its account at PFG through AccuVest at a time that AccuVest was guaranteed by PFG. However, the alleged fraud occurred after PFG terminated its guarantee of AccuVest. The termination was effectuated by notice from PFG to the National Futures Association as well as AccuVest. Presswood claimed on appeal that PFG forever was liable for AccuVest fraud related to accounts opened at PFG during the time of its guarantee. Failing that, Presswood claimed that PFG never effectively ended its guarantee of AccuVest. The Court of Appeals rejected both arguments, saying that, quote, "We fail to see why the guarantor who properly terminated its relationship with a broker must be the party left holding the bag. End of quote. Although this is a very fact-intensive decision, it is an important decision in clarifying that an FCM's liability for a former guaranteed IB is not totally open-ended. Check out the valuable lessons learned on the print version of this Bridging the Week on my website. In another important decision, the United States Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit ruled in August that another trial must be held to determine whether Bank of New York, now BNY Mellon, appropriately protected itself by asserting a lien on assets of Sentinel Management Group, an investment manager that filed bankruptcy in 2007. Alternatively, asked the court, was Boney aware that Sentinel inappropriately was using protected customer funds to secure its lien? If its actions were inappropriate, BNY Mellon must return US $312 million it held as collateral against the lien. In case you forgot, Sentinel's customers were often futures commission merchants seeking a decent return while maintaining the liquidity FCMs needed, noted the court. Sentinel itself was registered with the CFTC as an FCM and was required to comply with the CFTC's customer funds protection requirements like all other FCMs in connection with its handling of customer assets. Prior to filing for bankruptcy, Sentinel maintained a credit line at Boney for its proprietary activities and maintained a lien on certain of Sentinel's assets for this. However, at the time of bankruptcy, Sentinel apparently commingled customer and non-customer assets contrary to law. The question addressed by this appellate court was whether the lower court committed error when it dismissed the trustee's claim that Boney improperly used Sentinel's customer assets to secure its lien as a result of knowledge Boney had. The Court of Appeals based its decision on, quote, significant inconsistencies in both the factual and legal findings, end of quote, in the lower court's opinion that left it unclear whether Boney knew or not of Sentinel's misconduct. Well, let's see where this goes. And that's it for this week. I know it's not much, but perhaps in the world of regulation, no news is good news. Certainly, it's quicker to report on. Until next week, this is Gary DeWaal for Bridging the Week. Have a great week.